Yeah, hi guys. So sorry I haven't uploaded in a few days. I had another flu. I had a stomach flu this time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always getting sick all the time, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I couldn't record, like, especially the first day I had it. Couldn't I was just throwing up, and I couldn't record at all. But I'm better, and I think I'm good enough to record now. But so this comic, I'm gonna read it because there's two things. The Batman story in this is interesting because it says this got retconned obviously later, but it says that before Batman became Batman, he was Robin when he was like a teenager or whatever. So that's kind of interesting. That was only done in the Silver Age. And the second one, I'm reading the Martian Manhunter one because it shows Martian Manhunter actually fighting like villains instead of him just like wandering around in that. But isn't that me? No, that looks like you, Robin. But it's actually me when I was your age. And here's my Robin costume to prove it. So featuring when Batman was Robin. Batman with Robin the Boy Wonder. A flashing streak of green and scarlet, a teenage typhoon in action. That's Robin the Boy Wonder, Batman's great young partner. But once years ago, as a youth, Batman himself wore the Robin costume. Here's the inside story the world has never known. The dramatic tale of Batman's first adventure as a lawman and of the detective who was greater than he in the days when Batman was Robin. Yes, that's when I was Robin, and now my past threatens us. One night in Gotham City, as the famed dynamic duo Batman and Robin speed homeward after having solved their latest case. The search for that witness was a tough one. I'm glad it's over. Yes, maybe we can catch up on our sleep, as Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. In the hidden Batcave beneath the Wayne Mansion waits the only man Batman has ever trusted with the secret of his identity. You didn't have to wait up for us, Alfred. I wanted to give you this package. It came from Bruce Wayne today, marked urgent. The sender was a Mr. Harvey Harris. Harvey Harris? Who's he? Someone I knew long time ago. A brilliant man. This package, sent to Bruce Wayne. If this means what I fear. What? Why, it's a Robin costume, just like mine. Yes, but made before you were born. And its delivery to Bruce Wayne can only mean one thing. That long ago I made a terrible mistake, and that now it endangers both of our careers. Batman, I don't understand. It's a long story, and it may be the last one ever told about Batman and Robin. To think of it, the past rising to threaten me after all these years. Batman, what do you mean? Tell me. It happened years ago, when I was in my teens. Every boy is a hero worshiper, and my idol was. Harvey Harris is a great detective, always fighting for the law and for right. If I could be like him when I grow up. Police Detective Harvey Harris nabs Skyway robber, brilliant sleuthing. Yes, it was Harvey Harris whose achievements I long to imitate. But I've got to learn if I'm ever to battle lawbreakers as he does. I wonder if he'll teach me. Maybe he will if I convince him I have a detective ability. My parents abroad that summer. Also, this is before his parents were shot. Had left me at home with the butler and maid, so I put my youthful plans into operation. I watched Mr. Harris for days without him seeing me. When I tell him that, he'll surely admit I've got sleuthing ability. But there is one stumbling block. No, I can't let him know who I am. He might think what I'm doing is dangerous and wants to discourage me. I'll have to conceal my identity from him. That night, in the privacy of my room, I took a fateful step. This costume, it's fanciful, but it'll conceal my identity from him. And I had to catch him alone after he leaves headquarters and ask him to teach me. It doesn't really make sense. I just thought about it, like, if Dick Grayson came up with the idea of in the original, he came up with the identity of Batman, or Robin. Dick Grayson came up with the identity of Robin. How come like Bruce Wayne? How come he doesn't know all of this about Bruce Wayne? Like, if he's already Robin, it doesn't really make any sense. But like that, he doesn't know that Bruce Wayne was already Robin. Like how? Like it would be very strange if it was a coincidence that they were both Robin, and Dick Grayson came up with it. But that was the first time I ever went forth in costume, and I stepped into something I hadn't bargained for. That's funny. He isn't following his usual route. I wonder, is he trailing somebody? He was, as I learned, by running ahead across the low roofs. And I learned something else. That must be the man Harris is trailing, but he knows he's being followed and is waiting. I've got to do something fast. I learned then to use whatever I could in emergencies like that one. That big 10 bill advertising sign is light. It won't hurt him. Wait, I don't know who's talking. Oh, is it Robin? Okay, so I think that's Robin. So that big 10 bill advertising sign is light and won't hurt him, but it'll stop him. You think you could trap me, Harris? But oof. I waited until the police had come and taken the man away before I spoke to my hero. Well, young fellow, I owe you a lot. Who are you? I can't let you know that, Mr. Harris, but I know who you are, the greatest of all detectives, and I want to be your pupil. I learned later what Harris first thought of me. Just an eager youngster who thinks he'd like to be a detective, but if I turn him down, he'll maybe go off on his own and run risks. I'll string him along until I find out who he is and warn his parents. Well, Mr. Harris, I do owe you a debt, so I'll teach you something about my profession. Since you're as brilliant as a robin redbreast in that costume, I'll call you Robin. Swell, what do I learn first? You'll learn first that detective work is no light-hearted game, but a life of hard work, of loneliness, of danger. And since I'm to be your teacher, you'll learn to obey. I'll do my best. Harris began my detective lessons at his home, where he lived alone. But I soon found he was investigating me. A clever costume. And well cut and sewn, too. He's trying to find out who made my costume, so I can trace the tailor and find out who I am. Yes, I made it myself. And I really did, so that trick won't work. If I can keep my identity secret from him, I'll be able to keep it secret from anybody in the future. Well, I'll begin by telling you the things a detective must know. Once he must know science. Have you studied any of these standard books on criminology? If I borrowed them from a public library, he could trace my name that way, but I didn't. Yes, I bought those books and have studied them all. And a detective must know how to protect himself. Have you ever learned boxing? Oh, sure, I learned in it. Uh-oh, I nearly told him I learned it in the Sea Scouts. That would be a lead to me. Gotta be more careful. But I was fencing with the greatest sleuth in the world. This youngster is really sharp and suspects what I'm up to. Just a minute, my phone. Ring. That telephone bell was an alarm that summoned me to my first experience as a lawman. You say headquarters had called you into a case? Then I can go along. You can, if you'll obey orders. He's already given me a clue to his identity, and maybe I can get more. Yes, without knowing it, I had given the shrewd detective a real lead to my secret. Many times I'd gone on law missions, but nothing will ever match the thrill of that first drive with the great detective. What is it, a robbery? No, Arthur Mellon, a collector of valuable big ship models, says racketeers tried to sell him correct collector's insurance on his models. He refused, and now he believes there's a prowler on his grounds. By the time we reached Mellon's riverfront estate, it was dawn, and disaster had already struck. Too late! While you dawdled on the way, someone cut loose my priceless muttles and set them adrift. Maybe I can still catch them for you. I was burning myself to distinguish myself in the first mission. This model won't bear a man's weight, but it will bear mine. That boy in the crazy costume. What's he doing? No, wait. Using a Mississippi steamboat as a paddleboard, I raced down the swift current after the other models. I'm gaining on them. Harris will be proud of me." But Harvey Harris had raced back to his car and was driving downriver at top speed, because ahead of me, "He'll be carried down there in a moment. If my tow rope will reach, I'll have a chance." Now I see why Mr. Harris tried to stop me. Looks like my detective career ends right here. But just in time. Catch! Got it. Once I was safe, Harris hurried me to the foot of the falls, and I followed. Nothing left of the ship models, but these fragments of plywood. "You could have been dashed to bits too, for rushing into action without knowing what's ahead. We better tell Mellon what has happened to those models." "And they're all smashed to bits. I hope they weren't too valuable." "Valuable? They were priceless exact scale models, worth thousands, and your police let them be destroyed. I'll tell the newspapers, the whole city, how you let those racketeers destroy my collection. I'll make your failure front-page news." "That's your privilege, but we'll do our best to find the vandals." I learned then how swiftly a great detective could think. The ship models were destroyed for just one reason: to frighten other collectors into buying collector's insurance. Other collections will be vandalized for the same reason, unless we prevent it. I'll do anything I can to help you. We must put all the collectors on guard. You warn Van Martin and Bello, 2 famous collectors who live near here. I'll warn others, and later we can make a complete list of possible victims. Right. Then, for the first time, I was on my own as a lawman. "Yes, but I refuse to buy collector's insurance, my colored glass treasures. They could be easily destroyed. Mr. Van Martin, so he's like Dutch, so sorry about that. But now, have your servants stand on guard, and I'll warn the other collector. Mr. Bello had a famous clock collection. I too refuse to pay the racketeers, but my butler is too old for guard duty. What shall I do? I'll stand guard myself until you can hire a good watchman." I thought I was doing a fine job. Every window and door is tightly shut. No one can get in without my knowing it. But when Harris finished warning others and came to join me, "Your young assistant has done an excellent job in securing the doors and windows, Mr. Harris. There are more subtle methods of vandalism than breaking in. Tell me, have you shown anyone your collection or added anything to it recently?" "Why, yes, I bought this fine clock only last night, when it was offered at me at a great bargain. The metal figure of Father Time strikes the gong each day at noon." "That bargain seems coincidental. There could be an explosive in that gong, which would destroy your whole collection." I realized in a flash how stupid I had been, and as I saw the big clockwork figure begin to strike the hour. I'll hold it back, but the machinery is strong." "1 second more and I'll get that gong away." And when I let go, "There is an explosive charge in it. If you hadn't grabbed Father Time's arm fast, I'd have suspected before, if I were a real detective like you, but I'll learn." Later, as Harris laid plans to trap the racketeers, "I got more names of wealthy collectors who might be approached by the crooks. You phone each of them at these numbers, while I write a warning letter to be circulated." On the names I was to telephone, one stood out daringly. "My father's name, but it'd be so Thomas Wayne. We'd naturally be here. He's got a small collection of rare coins. They're safely in a bank vault, but since I'm not supposed to know that, I'll call home too." I felt that Harris was watching me as I made those calls, and that I must be clever. So when I dialed my own number, if I disguise my voice, he'll notice. I'll use my own voice, and then if our butler recognizes it, I'll tell him later it was a joke. I breathed easier when I made that call to the Wayne home without betraying anything. And then on my next call, "There's no answer from Mr. Garrett, who owns that famous first collection. With the servants he has there, the phone wouldn't go unanswered, unless something's wrong." "You do have deductive ability, lad. We'll get there fast." But as we raced to the Garrett mansion, I felt not only excitement, but a gnawing worry. "Remember, you're to stay out of danger this time. Your parents would never forgive me if I let you get hurt." He almost acts as though he knows who I am, but that's impossible. I've been careful to make no slips. Something was wrong indeed at the Garrett estate. You're too late! My precious collection! No time to untie them now. Quick, onto the grounds. Garrett's collection of famous firsts was too big to keep under cover. Look, those two crooks fired up all the steam-powered relics and are running away. They're tied down at the safety valves, and if I don't release the valves, the boilers will explode. You can use this old fire engine to put out those grass fires while I release the safety valves. But I could help you. All right, I'll do as you say. And a moment later I was glad I learned to obey. This safety valve is jammed shut. Can't open it. Here, grab this hose. I'll pump more water, then you can put out the fire in the locomotive boiler. Hoof, that's all the water in the tank. It's enough. The fire's out. You're a resourceful boy and a good partner. After all, you did save my collection. I shouldn't complain that you let the vandals escape. I think I know where to find them, Mr. Garrett, and with them the proof I need to convict a certain person of racketeering. I thought I'd followed every step of the case carefully, but my surprise was great when... But this is Mr. Mellon's house. Surely he wouldn't destroy his own valuable collection just to frighten others. That's what he wanted us to think. But valuable scale ship models aren't made of cheap plywood, such as you picked up from the wreckage. I suspected him then. And now I can prove it. We wrecked the famous first just like you said. Nobody refused to buy our collector's insurance now. You call headquarters. I'll take care of thugs like these. What? How? Later I felt more humble than I had ever had before. I missed the clue of that plywood, just as I missed other things. I see now. I've got a lot to learn. Someday you're going to be a great detective, but until you're a man you need to study and learn in preparation. I want you to wait until you fully trained yourself before you start a career that can be great. Will you promise? I promise, and to show you that I mean it, I'll send you this Robin costume to keep. And I did so, ending my first lawman experience. But I was still proud of one thing. But I did keep even Harris from learning my identity. So now I know that when I'm a man, I can be a lawman and can keep my identity secret. But years later, in our present day, Batman realizes that something went wrong in the past. But this costume, after all these years, Harris sent it back to Bruce Wayne. How did he know I grew up to be Batman? Batman, look! There was a letter inside the costume. Maybe that explains. It's a last letter from Harvey Harris, and it says, Batman, I've left orders for this sealed package, your old Robin costume, to be sent to you at your Bruce Wayne home after my death. And so far from beyond the grave, the great detective of the past speaks to his former pupil. You see, I did learn your identity. You slipped up when you said you had sewn your own costume. There's only one place where a boy learns to sew, with that sail stitch you used, and that's in the Sea Scouts. I knew that if you were a ski scout, you must have a wealthy family to buy such expensive books. That narrowed it down to a few suspects. I put the names of those families on your list you gave to the telephone. I watched you and dialed one phone number, the Wayne number, without looking at the list. That means you knew that number already, your own phone number, and that you were Bruce Wayne. And he ends, I realized that if you were aware that I learned your identity, you'd always feel insecure, so I never told you. And I was right, since you've since become the greatest detective of all. He was wrong, Robin. He, the only man who solved my identity. Secret, he was a greater detective than I. And that's the end. Now, John Jones, Manhunter from Mars. How would you like to be a super detective? Imagine being able to walk through walls, make yourself invisible, control matter with your mind, and perform other astounding feats. But to do these things, you would have to be born on Mars. And that's exactly the story of John Johns, Martian, who as John Jones, super sleuth, uses the incredible to solve such incredible detective dilemmas as the case of the magic baseball. Now, let's see what a little Martian magic can do with that baseball. Stranded on Earth, unable to return to his native Mars, John Johns often gazes longingly at the midnight sky. Until the scientists on my world construct a rocket ship that can come to Earth, I must remain here. But until that day I'll remain John Jones, detective. For the least I can do is for my new planet home is to help wage war against crime. John's alias Jones broke his first case by the simple Martian procedure of attuning the molecules of his body to those of a solid wall and walking right through. We're locked in. We'll be safe here for a while. No, you're not going to be safe here. You're going to be safe behind bars. Huh? But I'm sure I locked that other door. And when the trigger Tom Taylor defied him on a rooftop. Come and get me if you think you can. With his ability to bend light rays around himself, the super sleuth took on an invisible form. Where'd he go? Is he hiding down there or did he leave? Abruptly, drop it, Trigger. You're covered. What? You went around the other way and came up behind me. Now on this day, John Jones reports into the precinct for what promises to be one of his most unusual assignments. This is the old wanted poster of Big Bob Michaels, who once served a prison term. He's become a fabulous baseball pitcher since then, and the big leagues want to sign him. He says wanted Big Bob Michaels, I said Mitchells. Yeah, Big Bob Michaels. It's not publicly known that Michaels served time, and some of his old pals might hold that as a club over his head to get him to fix games. I want you to keep an eye on him, Jones. Right, Lieutenant. Meanwhile, in the apartment of Big Bob Michaels. We were happy to hear that you signed with the Flamingos today, Big Bob. Who is this? Never mind. The Flamingos meet the Wonders tomorrow, and you're scheduled to pitch. Lose that game and you'll get a lot of dough. Win it, and your fans will find out you learned pitching in the prison baseball team. As the phone conversation continues, a lone figure arrives and waits in the hallway outside. We're not hanging around on the phone to argue. You got the pitch, pitcher boy. Take it from there. Click. For long moments, Big Bob Michaels paces the floor, while a figure outside remains and watches. I'm not going to lay along with the mob. That's a cinch. I'm going straight. I made a mistake once and I went to jail. I'll pitch that game and win. Afterwards, Michaels is a real dither. He wants to go straight, but that mob phone call from the mob has him worried. Another of his super sleuth's powers is his ability to peer into the future. I don't think Martian Manhunter could do that later on. I think Martian Manhunter has a lot of powers. I mean, he can read minds. He has super strength. He has heat vision. Well, actually no, he's weak to fire. I don't think he has heat. He has telepathy. He can phase through walls. He can shapeshift. He can do I don't know if he can see into the future though. That might be just for this. But I see the end of the game tomorrow. Michaels would win it 1-0 with a home run in the 9th if these crooks weren't attacking him. But since Michael's upset, he's going to need some help, so I think I'm going to be on hand at the game. Next day at the vast stadium, where thousands throng to watch one of the season's big games. It's a dramatic moment, folks. Big Bob Michaels, just up from the minors, is on the hill for the Flamingos. The whole sports world is on watching this one today. Can Michaels make it? Frankly, he looks a little worried out there, but I guess you can't blame him. Other eyes are on Michaels too. Brad Devon and 2 of his gang. Michael's sweating like he's in a Turkish bath, boss. It's not the weather. He's got another kind of heat on him. If he tries to win this one, it'll be the end of his career. And still another pair of eyes watches the pitcher with keen interest. There's the first pitch. Now we'll see what happens when I use a little Martian molecular hypnosis. Huh? It seems to be climbing slowly. It seems to be hanging in midair. Let's see how the crowd reacts to this one. Martian mind over matter. Strike! What happened? I thought I had it right under my nose. What pitching, Michaels? Burn him over. The double-crosser? Hold it, he's probably making it look good. But batter after batter goes down, swinging in foolish fashion at the tantalizing dancing ball. Strike! Soon. 6th inning, boss. And the Wonders haven't touched the ball with their bat. Michael's making it look too good. Maybe you're right.
We'll wait a little while longer.
Finally, in the ninth inning, it's time to make the game exciting. With a 0-0 score, a run would perk things up. Michael is at bat, so here goes a little more mind over matter. Michael swings on the first pitch, a simple line drive to the third baseman. Easy out, and we go into extra innings. Thwack! But it's not an easy out, for incredibly the ball rises just before reaching the fielder's outstretched mitt.
What a win today!
The ball carries further and farther, all the way to the left field seats.
Home run! Home run! The Flamingos win!
The Flamingos win,
but Michaels loses. Come on!
The mobsters. Making himself invisible, the disguised Martian steps in front of the hurrying criminals.
Hey, someone pushed me! And someone tripped me.
Look, Devin and his men, in the ballpark with guns. I'm Detective Jones. I'll take over now. And so later, back at the precinct. Not bad, Jones. This confession wraps up the Devon mob. Attempting to bribe and blackmail ball players is a serious offense. How'd you manage it? Let's just say that I was lucky, Lieutenant. In the end. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you could sorry my voice isn't as good. Yeah, my voice isn't as good, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.